Hello, welcome to the November update here at Revesby Estates. End of November, storm passing through, so I've just come into this bit of a woodland to get a bit of shade from the wind, so I apologise if there's a bit of noise on the camera. So November, fairly dry month actually, 30 mil of rain in total. We are short of rain, we're about 100 mil down on our total, 120 mil down on our total, so it might mean unfortunately December will be the catch-up month, which if so we could see 4 to 5 inches of rain, or maybe that might even be snow to come through. We normally do end up catching up. So what have we been up to in November? Primarily the lads have been busy firewood production, a lot of seasoned cordwood in the yard. They've been getting that into 20% and below logs ready for selling. Out on the ground, the main thing been happening is sugar beet harvesting. We're now 50% through our campaign, which will run all the way through till end of February, probably beginning of March actually. So if it starts getting wet in December, we'll have to pull a halt onto that until the ground conditions improve. I myself have actually been down in Kent this month with what we call a cover crop group. There's a group of us now been meeting for about 6 years, sharing ideas, discussing new ideas and looking at things coming up, basically learning how we utilise a crop called a cover crop. Now, a cover crop is a crop what grows in the ground after a cash crop is harvested. So for example, winter wheat is taken off and then we put in a green crop behind. It's called a cover crop because it simply just is used to cover the ground. It sucks up the surplus nutrition from the previous crop, and it's also capturing carbon, CO2 out of the air, utilises that and stores the carbon into the ground. So it's excellent for the actual overall environmental health of the planet. So we don't like to leave bare stubbles, and you'll see in a second we're stood down in Kent with this tour group having a look. Now the interesting thing is UK, as small as it is, has varying climatic conditions. So down in Kent, a bit warmer down there on the south coast, a lot more sunlight than what we get up here further north here in Lincolnshire. So our cover crops don't quite grow the same as theirs, so it's interesting to share ideas and share what crops grow at what times of the year. Another thing whilst we're down there was worms, and you'll see I do a little bit of a sheet what we've got on our worms. So yeah, a brief video this month, but just a quick look at our cover crops, what we've got growing in the field. I'm now stood amongst one of our cover crop trials. We take a look at how much growth is on it, and we'll now compare this to when I was down in Kent. These next few little videos are what I took of down in Kent. You can just see how, although sort of 2.5–3 hours away, drilled at exactly the same time, we get a lot more growth further down south.
They talk a lot about early late maturing within the species, so we saw with their black oaks they have an oak that is very quick to
So you see there the difference in the growth that we have, and that's why it's interesting to meet up and discuss and just to chat through so we can understand what works where in what situations. So here we are now in one of my cover crops. This is a blend. This has been wheat and is about to come a spring oat crop in the spring. Now what we've got in here is Phacelia. This Phacelia is predominantly in here to make a friable surface with its root network. We've then got some oil radishes and then some turnips in here. These are basically in here as bulking items for the sheep, because we will graze this with sheep to take the top off for us, get the nutrient cycle going round through the sheep. And we've got some rye growing in the bottom. This rye will really push on once we get the spring. Should So the sheep will take all this top off. They will nibble this rye out as well, but then the rye will start regenerating in the spring, and it does actually allow the ground to dry a bit. And then another final important component is the vetch here. This is cycling the nitrogen out of the atmosphere. Lovely rooting network on this vetch, helps again with the friable top, but it's really the nitrogen what this is going to give us into the next crop, what we're after here. So let's take the spade and see what we've got underneath. So we take the spade, no cultivations are done on here, so as soon as harvest is done, the drill straight in to drill these crops. We're relying now on nature to do our cultivations for us. And you can see here the actual structure of this soil, lovely friable. See this rooting network in here, and here are the worms. Just in a second I'll show you the sheet, which has got 13 different actual types of worm. Not a green worm there. These are all the surface dwelling worms in here. But you can see this lovely friable top, all created by the roots of these cover crops on here. These oil radishes going down, punching down, allowing moistures to move in the surface. Here's the Basilia, lovely fibrous roots creating that tilth. And then if you see this vetch, I'm going to root mass on that vetch. Fantastic. Shake that soil off, and then you can see the white nodules on it there. They are actually fixing nitrogen out in the atmosphere, which will feed this plant at the moment. But then once the plant is dead, once the sheep has eaten it, nitrogen left within them nodules will come available to the next crop. So doing fantastic work for us, cutting down the need for us to be burning diesel, wearing steel within the ground. We're now letting nature do its own thing. So whilst I've been down in Kent on the study tour trip, looking at the cover crops and such wise, we was actually learning about the worms. There's actually 13 different types of worm on this sheet. Helps us identify what worms are what they're doing within the soil. So we've got a very keen interest in preserving them and looking after them, because they are now our cultivators. Here we go, we've got a little surface one here, and then a big lob worm here. You can actually tell it's an adult by the saddle, what is on its back. Fantastic worms for cycling nutrition. And actually, if you take a handful of soil, if you take a full handful, there is actually said to be more organisms within that handful of soil than there has actually been people alive on Earth. Incredible resource soil is, and we're trying to learn and utilise it the best we can. Okay, so now I managed to find a bit of shelter behind a hedge. I've come into one of our other cover crops. Now this cover crop is just basically an oat, and this year I've dropped some vetch in it to try and again get that nitrogen cycling going. You may or may not be aware, obviously the gas price has gone extremely high. The production of nitrogen depends on the gas, so that has absolutely pushed the nitrogen price up really high as well. So all we can do to try and, I guess, manufacture our own nitrogen, then the better it is. So hence why I've got some vetches in with these oats. So oats, we grow them commercially on the farm. They go off to become in the likes of your breakfast cereals and such like, but we save a few of them back and use them as a cover crop. Oats are very good, lovely rooting network we'll see in a second, but they're also good at scavenging. So these are very good at scavenging phosphate out of soils. Now we're on high calcareous soils here, high pHs, and phosphate important to a crop, but here it is locked up and out of reach from a lot of normal crops. But the oats are very good at scavenging that out, and as these break down and decay, they will release that phosphate back in a solution which our following crops can then access. So again, just being used as a whole part of the jigsaw. So let's dig some of these up and see what we've got. So just dug the spade in, and you can see this rooting network here from the oats. This lovely crumbable, friable soil. This is what we're going to drill into on these oats here. Look at that, fantastic. And then we should have, vetches are very hard, I think I've missed that one. Now here it is, the vetch. And then he's got his nodules on him, which will hopefully release us some nitrogen. So this crop, again, was a wheat crop. You can see the wheat stubble stood here, taken off. The oats drilled straight in. We don't drill the oats until we get to September though, but these will run and try and put seed head on too soon. So we just drill them in September, help spread our workload. But then the idea is in these is we will leave them green as they are. And we're actually going to drill a bean crop into here. So we'll drill the beans in here in March, and then we'll kill this green off just before the bean comes out in the ground. And what that allows us to do is block the sunlight from getting to the ground. So as the bean comes up and this oat dies down, blocks the sunlight out, means we don't have to be using herbicides on our beans. Actually draws the bean up an inch higher as well, and we can get all the beans in the combine. So it's a bit of a win-win. So that's what I've been busy with in November. Just a quick look at these covers, what we're growing here. We've actually got 400 hectares of cover crops growing in the ground. So rather than leaving 400 hectares of bare stubble, not doing a lot over the autumn and early spring period, we put the cover in, like I say, to catch nutrients, capture the carbon, and also it's a home for not only soil living organisms but a lot of birds as well will live within here, and a lot of beetles will overwinter in here. So good all round for the environment. Coming up in December, we should hopefully start grazing some of these covers with sheep, which is another dimension which we bring into the rotation as well. So yeah, hopefully gives you a bit of information on what we're doing here on the farm, and we will catch up with you at the end of December.